Okay, guys, thank you if you're joining in. Oh, yes, I got a very special person in the house. If you blink, you miss. We've been getting a lot of feedbacks, by the way. People say they love the program. They love people who are coming on. They've been learning a lot. That's very, very encouraging. Very, very encouraging. And you're going to be shocked the people that we're going to be bringing on the program.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen and ladies, it is exactly 1 p.m. right here in the beautiful sunny city of Toronto, Canada, and in Benin City, Nigeria. It is 6 p.m. Wonderful city over there. And I have with me on this special edition of our program, Overcoming Limitations and Breaking Barriers, somebody that does not need introduction. I already gave away so much in advertising him, but you guys, one thing I can assure you is that you're going to have a mind-blowing interview today. There's going to be so many wow moments in our interview today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me as we welcome someone who I've come to learn so much about him. I've come to respect him. I've come to see him as an icon, a role model, somebody that you can hold on to and take to the bank. I will not disappoint you. I'm talking about barrister Kingsley Jesuorobo. Clap, clap, clap.
Thank you very much. I was wondering for a sec as to whether I was the one being introduced, Dr. Chidi. Thanks a lot for those wonderful, wonderful words.
No.
I appreciate.
No problem, Barrister Kingsley. Okay, I'm going to start where we normally start. If somebody Googles Kingsley Jesuorobo, they're going to see what Google says about you. You're not a hidden face. You cannot even. You're like a goldfish. You can't hide. So there's so much about you all over the place. But we like to hear it from the person. For someone who doesn't know you, who has not heard about you, who is Kingsley Jesuorobo?
Kingsley Jesuorobo is a Nigerian of Edo ethnicity and an adopted Canadian. This country where I am talking to you from the beautiful city of Vaughan, adopted me a while back. And I was born at Urunigbe. Urunigbe is the second largest town after Benin City in Benin Kingdom. I am a lawyer by profession. From when I was in my elementary school, I craved to become a lawyer. Of course, you wonder whether I knew what the profession was all about. I didn't. But, I was drawn to it by, just the regalia. And with time, I began to see why it was something I was destined for, because it commanded respect. It gave a lot of room, to impact the world, to impact the society, to impact humans. And of course, I went to school. As I said at some point in one of my posts, I felt that was what I was going to be. But
no. You're moving ahead of us. You're moving ahead of us. Don't give away too much.
Yes. Basically,
exactly.
Thank you. Basically, I'm a lawyer. I am a poet as well, and many other things. As we plow through this interview, as you've cautioned, I shouldn't reveal much, so I'll just wait for you to lead. But in simple terms, I am one individual who believes so much in myself. Confidence is what propels me. Once I determine a goal, I pursue it with so much vigor, and I don't see limitations.
Exactly. You see that you're already because of who you are, you don't even wait to be prompted. You have it. You're moving ahead. But the good thing is that you're moving along the track that we want to take you on. So I was going to ask you, what is it that drives Kingsley? I've seen you. You're moving. In fact, people think you're here. You're already ahead of them. You're up and go. You're like that. And people can't follow you if they don't understand it because you're already gone. Like you're finished. What is it that drives you? What is that thing? Because a lot of people mistake it. A lot of people think, oh, he's snobby. He doesn't have time. He's so proud. What is it? Why is he so confident? What is that thing that drives you? What's your passion? What is it?
Okay, in terms of drive, Dr. Chidi, one thing I will attribute my irrepressible focus on my aims to is the appreciation of the limitation of time. You see, when I was born, I had my parents, and I look back, they are no more. So they had limited time within which, to achieve whatever they set out to do. So being conscious of time made me one individual who I would say is on the fast lane. I felt if I recognized that my time here on earth is limited, I would not mind what people think about how I pursued my goals. I would not mind how much limitation people see in terms of what I've piled up to be my aims and objectives. I would only mind time. So minding time has been the greatest propeller, if you will, of my drive. Now, there's this whole concept of, okay, why is it that, you go for things that seem insurmountable? Why do you confront certain objectives that people would look at and say, why is he doing this? Is he crazy? What are you thinking? Projects that I have undertaken in my life are mind-blowing to some, but for me, I just see them as, things that I must accomplish in order, to make my mark. So it is a twin thing that I would say. Time, being conscious of time, and then realizing that if you want to be extraordinary, you have to do things outside of the scope of what folks, are used to. So those two things push me.
I've known you for some time now. So, but you just revealed something to me. It's like somebody who feels like, man, I don't have time. I don't have time. And even though it's reflected in a lot of things you do, because you don't waste time with people. If you say, hey, well, I'm going to do this, so before people are still trying to figure out, you already finished it and let them be discussing it. You have left it there. Let's walk people through some of those things that you have done that maybe they were dreams that you had, but it looked like, oh my goodness, why did I even think about it? But you went ahead and you pursued it. A lot of people know you as Barrister Jesuorobo, but a lot of them don't even know that you're a poet. And a lot of them think, okay, you're just a poet. No, they don't know that you've actually written a book. And not just that you've written a book, they don't know that your book is actually a bestseller. So take us through some of these projects, because people don't understand. They don't even know that you have ventured into entertainment, even though you're a lawyer. You're at two extremes. You're a lawyer, very serious-minded lawyer, but you get down and you boogie on entertainment. Take us through this. Take us across these two extremes.
Thank you. You see, okay, let's take law, for example. As you rightly said, that is my face. Okay, and ironically, venturing into other endeavors have created, or has, I beg your pardon, created this confusion in the minds of folks. And I wonder why people do not see, the ability of one to multitask. And I use the analogy of the human body. For example, we don't just have one eye, we have two. So you could see from a natural perspective that, you know, God that created humans already felt, you know what, there could be two things, you know, going on at the same time. And I look at myself and I say, okay, I'm a lawyer and I impact on people ordinarily. What is it that I can do to share, you know, my life's experience? And I say, okay, you know what? There's so much philosophy in law. There's so much logic. There's so much wisdom. And as you've also acknowledged, I go out a lot. And in the course of going out, I interact with people and I get to understand the mind of you know, more than one, more than two, more than three, you know, a whole lot of people from different ethnicities, different nationalities, different parts of the world. So all of these things, I felt, okay, you know what? When I go and deal with a case in court, you know, I'm focused on that case, and whatever I derive by way of knowledge, you know, is extremely limited to that case, or the deployment of that knowledge is limited to that case, or the use of that knowledge. So why don't I venture into writing and make, you know, a bit of what it is that I've learned, you know, available out there? You see, that is the tool that one could use when you write and then you publish. You could use that to reach out to a whole lot of people. I didn't even know, of course, I didn't set out to become a bestseller. So, but I set out to do one thing, which was convey, you know, certain things that I felt, you know, they are nuggets of wisdom. So if I put them together and push them out there, that is why my book is titled Province of Poetry, a collection of poems and philosophical phrases. So the wisdom, you know, nuggets that I packed in there, you know, are things that I have derived from my interactions with people. And then you talk of going into entertainment. You see, the spirit of the human can always be made a little livelier. You see, you can't. They say, you know, you can't just be one way in your life. Man shall not live by bread alone. That encompasses a whole lot. It tells you, for example, that there are certain things that could push you, you know, and help you accomplish those fundamental objectives that you have. Entertainment is certainly one of them. One other thing I must stress is that when I write, you know, there's the feeling that I derive. It's just like dressing up. When you wake up, you want to wear something. If you are the one that looks after yourself in terms of your appearance, if you pick a pair of jeans, you see the color. If it is if it is gray, for example, and you want to match it with a gray suit, a great blazer, you're going to say to yourself, okay, well, this will look nice. The same thing with writing. So when I have that ability to craft, you know, words, and I have symmetry, I have alliteration, I have them all fitted, you know, in a pattern that rhymes, I'll be like, oh, wow, I've done this. And that enriches my soul. It helps me to focus when I'm doing the bigger things that, you know, I confront day to day. For example, going to court. So some of these things that I frame, you know, are used in other settings. So you'll be amazed how logic, you know, plays in the head of a judge. So if I'm able to wrap my conversation with a judge in poetic language, of course, they are going to be wowed. And all of these things matter. I can tell you this is not to brag. I was once told by a judge that when she would ask me, okay, you know what, Mr. Jesuorobo, I want to read your written submissions. And I would say, I don't have time. I have a lot. I want your written submissions because I still have time. I want to go, you know, immediately to my submissions and make them orally because this is something I'm prepared for. I don't have to go back to my office with a whole pile of files to deal with. I want to give my oral submission. She will tell me, you know what, no way. I want to read, and I'll tell you one day. So why I want your your written submission. So when she retired, she had this sent forth party because it was a social event, because she had retired, so we could mingle. So I went there, and she told me, she said, Kingsley, meet John. That's her husband. And John said, so you are Kingsley. So my wife, always was so crazy about your writings that she would bother me, I hope, I want to read, you don't disturb me, and so on and so forth. So sometimes certain things that you do that you don't even imagine would impact some other people in settings that you primarily are engaged in could have very serious impact. So I'm telling you how my writing has impacted so profoundly on my legal work.
Before you go on, you see, if people are watching my face, be wondering, I've been stealing some smiles, and I have the book here. It's The Province of Poetry. And the part of the book that really, that's my most favorite, is on page 41, and it talks about sense. What we're trying to do here, we're trying to really open up to people who you really are. So I want to read that very, very short one, but it's my best. It says, sense. Oh, sense, I shall be your slave, hence make me dance, so I can't skip your fence. Oh, sense, I shall be your slave, hence make me dance, so I can't skip your fence. When I read that thing, I said, oh my God, where is this sense? Take me. I want to be your slave, because when you become a slave to sense, sense will teach you. Sense that you are like, oh my God, that touched me. But it's also amazing that you wrote something for the month of May. So as we're trying to get out of May, let me read May. May is on page 107. It says, oh May I honor thee? Mighty eggs are what thou lay. Thou make grounds green and ripe from tea. Like night and day, thou evolve to dissolve. Like right of way, thou solve and resolve. Thy wheated lands feature scenic flowery picture. Thy sumptuous spring is rebirth room for what winter routed. Landscape lawns look luxurious when nurtured by thy nature. Favored I am to be among whom thou sprouted. Thy air is fresh, thy winds refresh, thy bountiful yields have flesh. Thou would I choose where I to be born afresh. Thou would I choose where I to be born afresh. Hey, this man, you get sense.
It's interesting that you brought that up, and guess what? Today is May the 27th, so we are still in the month of May. You see, appreciating those things about oneself, can really also be self fulfilling. It's like I feel fulfilled if I'm able to give credence to my background, to my history. If you read my writings, you see, for example, that I pay a lot of tribute to my parents. If you read my posts on social media, I'm more big about, this whole idea of keeping the legacy of my parents who are of blessed memory. So May, being the month of my birth, obviously had to be given a special attention in my book. Going back to the point about sense, you see, the whole point here is we live in a world where so much disagreement along religious, along ethnic, along racial, along political, along all kinds of lines, gender lines. So, but I think we all are imbued with the God-given elements, which is the whole sense characteristic. It's natural. We are born with it, except for, you know, very few who are mentally retarded. And again, that is negligible few, you know, and due to no fault of theirs. Every human, you know, comes with the mind, the brain, you know, the sense, you know, and what I've tried to do there, and that is actually even my poster poem, is so fundamental, you know, and it's so much at the core of my existence that my bookmark, which I have here, you know, has its own sense. I shall be your slave hence. Make me dense. Yes, so I can't skip your fence. I'm basically saying, okay, let all of us, let all humans subscribe to sense. If we did, a lot of the differences that we have will evaporate. And that is so true. That is so true. So if we allow logic to rule, we wouldn't have as much division as, you know, we have plaguing the world today. So I say the mind, having been the gift of God, you know, to believers, people subscribe to, you know, the fact that God created human and still creates as we speak, they will understand that this is something you don't have to purchase. It's just about exploring it. I say think is as easy as a blink. Just when you blink, you imagine, okay, I blinked. But there's so much. I'm not a scientist, but I've heard that the muscle, you know, that controls, you know, this blinking mechanism is quite powerful, and it takes a lot of energy, you know, to do that. However, you don't even know, you don't even feel it. So it's the same thing that thinking, as far as I am concerned, is. You think. It's just that we rush to judgment. If we process what we do or our thoughts, you know, methodically, you will see that a whole lot can be achieved. So I just say, subscribe to sense, be a slave to it, nothing else. Make me dense means let me be so thick, let me be so infused, let me be so infused,
saturated,
yes, let me be so imbued with you that I will be surrounded by you.
But Kingsley, see, your province of poetry, and I would Erica put it up. I would encourage everyone to go on Amazon and get it. It's a bestseller. I mean, you just the book just hit the market and instant it was a bestseller. I was there when you launched the book. But let me just as a way of mention, what level in Canadian legal practice have you gotten to? I just want to bring that in before I ask you the next question. What level in Canadian law have you gotten into? Have you gotten up to?
Okay, you see, this is how I would rank, you know, my legal practice. I've been so fortunate. Again, that derives from this whole idea of having self-confidence. I've been so fortunate to conceptualize groundbreaking ideas and then actually take it and put it in the legal context and use those ideas, you know, to successfully argue cases. So I have reached that point where, excuse me, many of my cases have been cited as, you know, groundbreaking cases that have been used even as far as, for example, in 2010, University of Oxford, UK, I'm talking of the prestigious Oxford University. They were inviting lawyers from, you know, across the world, Australia, United States, South Africa, and Canada, and they were looking into this whole concept in refugee law, where I mainly, excuse me, practice. For example, they were looking into this concept of persecution, you know, based on membership in a particular social group, which is a very technical concept. So they were doing their research, and at some point, they reached out to me and said, you know what, we want you to come and give lecture in this area. We've done our research, globally, and we've, excuse me, I got to take some water. I'm having.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. So they said, you know what, you need to come to us, for we are gathering lawyers, practitioners in this area. Dr. Harry Barbara Bond, who at that time, she's of blessed memory now, headed the Fahamu Refugee Program in conjunction with the United Nations Human Rights, United Nations, there's the UNHCR arm of the United Nations. So what they do is they look into issues of refugees, and they partner with agencies and institutions to promote, the whole welfare system for refugees across the world. So Oxford invited me to give a lecture. So that's what I would say was the highest point. It wasn't just within Canada, but global. So I went there, I met lawyers from all over the world, and some students at the institution, and I gave a lecture. So being able to do that, was something that derived from me being able to stitch together ideas that, folks would, for example, not think of ordinarily. And what was it? It had to do with persecution of people who are accused of witchcraft. So I happen to come from a society where, unfortunately, I witnessed people who were deemed to be witches and wizards being stoned to death as a young man. And we cannot lie about certain things. We just have to face these facts and say, okay, you know what? Where is the basis for this type of very brutal persecution of another human being? It all has to do with a perception. So people ascribe these features to others, that they consult what they call oracles, or they go to some native doctors who would do some magic and say, okay, you know what, you've been deemed and certified a witch, and then you are now at the mercy of youths who are gathered and authorized to stone you, and then give you, they basically just sentence you and execute you, sentence you to death and execute you. So I looked at that particular practice, and I felt, okay, you know what, this whole concept of membership in a particular social group, it is usually, used to protect people who are, for example, if you belong to a family, let's say you belong to a family and your family is facing persecution. If your dad was, say, head of state, and his government is overthrown, and every member of the family is being attacked, and you manage to flee, you come to Canada, the entirety of the family could be protected on account of their membership in a particular social group. And Canadian Supreme Court had looked at that concept, and they have given, roadmaps as to, okay, this is the path you pass to get to this destination, because it was a very complicated concept. It's been used to protect, gays and lesbians and a whole host of people. So I took it, I extrapolated that concept, and I said, you know what? Now, it is not just a matter of the characteristics that you have, because they say these characteristics must be inalienable. They must be part of you. Like if you are born into a family, if you are born into a race. For example, at some point, the Ogonis were facing intense persecution in Nigeria. And so if you belong to that tribe or ethnic group, you could come and say, because I belong to this group, I am targeted extraordinarily. And then that could be a basis for your protection. So what I did was, okay, if you are ascribed that witchcraft characteristic, you are not born with it. It is an ascription. It is what is a perception. So if you are seen that way, it becomes unchangeable. It is not part of you, like the way you are born into a family and you can't change it, but it's something that has been ascribed to you, even though it is not you that ascribed it to yourself. As long as you are persecuted because of that ascription, because of that label, then you should be protected under that category. So
wow,
that was it. So ultimately, there were instances where I did cases up to federal court, and then I used that concept, and I succeeded. So that was the kind of idea you know, that I
That's
brought
how
in.
I used to judge your achievement in the legal field. Let me ask
Yeah.
you this question. This question, I think the way you handled this question when I was the president of the Nigerian Canadian Association, and I asked you, it's important that people hear it. You remember that time I used to say, you know, I'm doing this program where I am trying to show people how to, this is a little digression, but I said I was doing a program where I'm trying to show people how to immigrate legally. So I asked you, who is an illegal and illegal immigrant? And you were like, Chidi, what gives you the ground to say this person is illegal? So maybe just briefly, and people need to hear this, because a lot of people are like, I don't want to come in the illegal way. I don't want to come in the legal and illegal. It's a conflicted perception that we, especially because a lot of my audience are people who are trying to come here to immigrate, but they have shied away because they thought what they were doing was illegal, because nobody was advising them. They weren't going through the right people. But I just wanted to throw a little bit more light on this question of legal way and the illegal way of immigrating. What is the difference?
Thank you. I think the word illegal is a misnomer, completely a wrong label. Is a wrong label that should not be used on anyone. You see, why I'm not encouraging people to break the laws, we have to appreciate the fact that everything is contextual. Canada has been a country that has received millions of people who have been fleeing from way back, you know. And if you see, sometimes if people look at the Jews, you know, they're always in the defense of the rights of refugees, because at some point, you know, they had to flee the Holocaust en masse, and then they went to different places. At some point, I think they were not received warmly, and they always would say, okay, you know what, this is something that may be happening to your own race, to your own tribe, to your own to your own family at some point. So the fact that you are lucky to be somewhere doesn't give you the right to label some other people illegal. Now they've changed it to irregular immigrants. Okay, where they could live, I can live with that term. You see, when people come here and they don't have a visa, you know, they have not applied for a visa, whether it's a visitor's visa, study visa, student visa, immigrant visa, as in the one that authorizes you to come here and live permanently, and or if you don't have a Canadian passport with which you can travel and come in and live, then you come in perhaps by using fake passport, by being smuggled by someone without paper, or maybe being hidden in the trunk of a car, or whatever means, then you are deemed irregular. Now, where the cacophony, where the whole confusion emanated from, and which also, as I understand, led to the Canadian Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship traveling to Nigeria, which I found personally problematic, because Nigeria is not the only country that, you know, has so-called irregular entrants or people, you know, fleeing persecution. And we had a whole lot, as you know, as president of the Canadian Association of Nigerian Lawyers, there was a session that we had, you know, the Nigerian High Commission, actually the Nigerian High Commissioner to Canada himself came to Toronto. Some of the community leaders were gathered together to discuss that issue, and I expressed, you know, my profound shock at the fact that the Nigerian High Commission was being drawn into something that was so domestic. I mean, what was the point? Okay, why are you calling Nigerians together to discuss issues pertaining to people coming to Canada to seek, you know, refuge? I mean, if we have Boko Haram, you know, syndrome that the country has not been able to tame, I understand the politics, you know, around, you know, people saying they've been technically defeated and, you know, other things, but that's not the issue here. But if people feel threatened because, you know, they are being targeted by the Boko Haram insurgents, and or if someone is gay or a lesbian, and you have promulgated a law that bans, you know, this practice, and these people find Canada to be a safe place, I mean, excuse me, are you going to say, okay, you know what, be there, live under that homophobic environment, or what are you going to say? So let's leave this issue. Canada has laws. These laws are working. You know, people have to have their day in court. So that was my stand as far as that issue is concerned. About talking about the regular path, of course, Nigerians, unfortunately, you know, and people from other countries, you know, are not aware that there are easy routes, you know, to come here. You know, if you are a graduate, for example, and you are still young, because now they've targeted the way the system is structured. People that are much younger are preferred. So if you are young, you have work experience, and you are a graduate, you can certainly take advantage of the express entry system. You know, people don't know. Unfortunately, there are quacks. There are people that are not authorized to practice law. They advertise in Nigerian newspapers, and a lot of people get duped, unfortunately. So what I say is, people can take advantage of some of these processes. They don't even have to retain law. I'm not saying don't retain law. They are complicated cases. A lot of people ask for guidance, and I tell them, you know what, I can do personally, my firm can do what I would call eligibility assessment for you, you know, for a fee. And you can also educate yourself. All you have to do is to Google Canadian immigration. Not, of course, when you Google it, because of this Google advertisement system, you are going to, the first bunch of links may be, they may be look-alike, you know, of Canadian immigration website, but it is not. So, and then once you click, you know, you are in someone's, maybe a consultant or a lawyer's page, and they are telling you all kinds of things. You are fooled into thinking this is CIC website. So you have to be smart about locating that particular website of Canadian immigration. If you type ROCC or CIC, you're going to see, you know, Canadian immigration website. You can educate yourself. They even have, you know, a system there that you can use to score yourself, you know, and pre-qualify. So, sorry, Chidi. So I just wanted to emphasize this point, that there are many opportunities out there that people can use to come here. But Nigerians should not be targeted, labeled, and vilified, you know, for doing, you know, what will protect them, or for taking steps is the first instinct. So as a refugee advocate, I will always, you know, stand on the side of people who are fleeing persecution. And ultimately, we have a system here that I say works. So, and these individuals, they hadn't even been given opportunity to, they hadn't had their days in court, for example. So that was, from all angles,
exactly,
everything was wrong
exactly.
with,
you know,
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, go on, please. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you for throwing a light on this. You know, the thing there, finally, what I wanted people to understand is this, that somebody who is fleeing from persecution, as long as there is persecution in your place, I don't think there's any hard and fast rule about, you've talked about other methods that people can come, but you see, somebody who is fleeing. Sometimes they run with bicycles, sometimes they grab somebody's car, they steal the car and run. Sometimes but they are running for their life. And when you find yourself under that condition, just know that there are rules, there are people who will help you. There's a system in place. Don't let somebody just discourage you with saying, oh, you're trying to do something illegally. Thank you so much. Now, what I want us, this is just the high point of this, our interview. You've achieved so much in life. I know you can't even, there's so much you can't even begin to touch them. You worked with, when Fever TV came here, you were there. I know the role you played in bringing Fever TV here to Canada. We'll talk about that. I'm actually going to have an interview with you that is just not focusing on this, so that we can deal with things in detail. But tell me, from when you came into Canada till now, was it always rosy? Or were there times that you felt like, what am I doing here? You almost gave up. just take us through 1, 2, or 3 points in your life that it was like, man, what is this? Am I? Should I continue living, or should I just throw in the towel? At times you look back now, you can't believe that you came out of those hitches in your life.
Thank you. You see, the mind, like a mine is a repository of a whole lot. You just explore just like you mine the field for gold, for oil, for all mineral. So is the mind. Talking about obstacles, of course. Excuse me, man. Let me tell you something. When I was in school, I went to University of Toronto, to do my recertification. Of course, as I still speak, you can see that I sound very Benin, very Nigerian. You see, and this is almost 30 years, after I left, right? So a lot of people, I don't see these things, that people see. That is, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I've not encountered, or I've never encountered obstacles. They are always there. I'll give you an example. A very good friend of mine, when I started my practice, a very good friend of mine who is a member of the State House of Assembly. Now he was deputy speaker. He's currently still a member, Honorable Brato Sayande. A lot of people don't understand why I respect him. He saw me, as a young man. He's a bit older than me, and he said, "Oh wow, I love to see." And he's not a lawyer, by the way. Telling me, how much I've impacted on him, as far as this professional calling is concerned. But let me go back to these issues of obstacles. So I got called to bar in 1996. I was living in I think, was it a 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, I can't recall, apartment, okay, with my wife, who had joined me in 1994. So I was called to bar in 1996. I had, I had a stint with a law firm, Michael Jesuorobo, a Canadian. But there was this issue in terms of philosophy. Because at that time, while in school, I used to do interpreter's job. I speak Edo fluently. So to get by, to pay fees and what have you. So I would go and do interpreter's job at the refugee board. So now I was called to bar February. Prior to being called to bar, because of philosophical differences, I'm going to say this. My boss then, of course, Canadian, white man, by virtue of my involvement with the community, because I've always been a community person. As you know, I attend community events when I have the opportunity.
Yeah.
A lot of people will flock to his office during I'm talking about the days when there was a lot of persecution. We had Abacha, we had Babangida, we had all of these military governments, that, repressed, the will of the people and the desire of the people for democracy. So there was, this whole flight of people. At some point, I was even chairman of Democratic Alliance for Nigeria and chairman of the board, of directors of Democratic Alliance for Nigerians in Canada. And we had a lot of demonstrations. So a lot of Nigerians were fleeing, no doubt. Even Chief Anthony Enahoro of blessed memory came here. And Dr. Owens Wiwa came here. I hosted all these people myself. At some point, a lot of Nigerians were coming. Then of course, by virtue of my being at my boss's office in Nigeria, a pro-democracy activist, a lawyer, already called to bar in Nigeria, a lot of people would flock to the office. And then I found myself being, in the middle. My boss would call me, okay, this one said he fled after jailbreak. This one said he fled after this. This one said he fled after that. Okay, why is it that people are still in jail in Nigeria? So why is it that all the jails are not empty? In other words, sort of his mind was, okay, why is it that everybody seems to be fleeing? And I'll go and get Newswatch magazine and I say, sir, okay, it is not for us as lawyers, to be judging these people's stories. They come here because I am here. So if they are coming here, they are flocking here, has become an issue where I now have to justify their patronage, of this office, then I don't think it's fair. So being the kind of guy I was, being very principled, I made up my mind that, what, I was going to start my own, where I would be independent, where I would represent people without any inhibition whatsoever. Nobody looking down on me or telling me or asking me to take that path where, I have to be judging, instead of giving people the platform, the opportunity to make their cases. You understand? So at that point, I made a decision, talking about obstacles, to start on my own. Starting meant a lot. Of course, starting meant, okay, you have to have an office. You have to have all the equipments, to run a practice. You need computers. You need printers. You need all kinds of things. And that's where my good friend, the Honorable, came in. So he had this printer. He would tell me, I started my practice right from home. So, of course, I said, okay, what is it that I needed? I didn't need much. I needed my brains, right? And I already had it. I needed experience. I already had it, because from 1994, while I was still a student, my boss, God bless him, because he gave me opportunity. I started representing folks even before I was called to bar as a student at law here in 1994 April. That was the first time I took someone to court and represented the person. And he was also a professor at a Nigerian Polytechnic. Who was that? My client. He was a pro-democracy activist. So how did it happen? He said to me, oh, when are we going to court? I said, no, I don't take you. I just prepare you. My boss is taking. He said, no way. I want you, if I am going to court, I will have to go with you. I said, really? I said, well, I've never taken anyone to court on my own. I prepare people. My boss takes them to court. Then he said to me, no way, I want to speak to your boss. I believe in you. Then I went. Of course, the rest is history. I won right there. And then my boss said to me, you are going to now have to continue doing this. I'm going to leave this advocacy side. You are a good advocate, so I'm going to leave that to you. But to fast forward to the point I was making, when I made the decision to be on my own, what happened, Chidi, was my needs, which were the office equipment, the setup, were not actually fully ready. In other words, I couldn't meet those needs. Because I couldn't, I had to depend on the goodwill of others. And that was where, my friend came here and he said, okay, KJ, as he calls me, whatever you need, I am here. So I would draft up stuff, and then I would run to his house, print them up, and of course, file them. What was important was getting the job done. I wasn't seeing obstacles. Even my boss, when I told him I was going to start on my own, asked me, how are you going to do that? I said, I don't see any inhibition, because what I see, is opportunity. And that was it. The same thing with writing my book. Professor Pius Adesomi, may God bless his soul. It was a very good friend of mine, and of course, very erudite, very, very talented. I mean, he's lost. It's something that I don't think we can overcome. Not at all. Not in my lifetime. So that guy, okay, and my other good friend, Professor Modupe Olagun, they were those, especially Professor Olagun. She would come to my office with when poets, great writers would come to Canada. She would just pass by and say, I want you guys to meet, this individual. He's a hidden talent when it comes to writing. So she came to me one time and said, oh, Kingsley, when your friend passed away, Dr. Boniface Ahunwa, again, that's another sad occurrence, which brings, very, very, bad memories, because this was a super talented guy, erudite, intellectually sound like no other. Now, I wrote a poem at that time, and I read the poem. So Dr. Olaogun came to me and said, Kingsley, you have a gift, and I don't want you to, keep this thing to yourself. Just write and put it out there. And then she said to me, when you write, I would help you, I will link you up with some publishers. I said, okay, no problem. Then I wrote. I sent them to her. She said to me, oh my goodness, I can't even take anything away. These things are so good. And she gave me a name of a publisher. So I sent my manuscript to the publisher. After 2 weeks, I hadn't heard from them. Then I spoke to Professor Adesome. I said, I don't understand what's going on. He said, my brother, it they take 6 months. If these guys would even get to you in 6 months, you'll be like, I said, 6 months? No, I'm not going to wait for 6 months. I'm not cut for that. I don't have time. They remember the
exactly.
So
yeah.
I went online. I said, okay, how about self-publishing? What's involved here? Mm-hmm. Then I saw this Amazon Kindle that I could self-publish. I said, really? I said, then why should I wait for anybody to read my manuscript and tell me, oh, I did this, I did that? So I didn't bother. I just published, and it was my daughter actually who said to me, Daddy, look, your book, about 3 weeks later, your book is the best, because I will see downloads in thousands. I was like, this is unbelievable. You understand? And it was just like that. So that was just the digital copy. So that, luckily for me, I hadn't done the paperback, right? So that is why when you see the hard copy, you see Amazon bestseller there, because my book had become because it had become a bestseller by the time the hard copy was being published. But what I'm trying to say here is that those things that you don't see, when folks talk about obstacles, right? They may not just be there. It's all about the mind. You create it. So I never felt, there was going to be limitations, as far as me achieving any of my goals. I've never, ever felt it. When you mentioned Fever TV, thanks for bringing that up. Myself and my good friends, Robert Onyawa, who is still running the affairs, to this day, we had, a very spectacular, backer, Captain Okumbo, the man that, always wants to project and promote, African culture, Benin culture. So every time we mentioned anything about putting, the black people on the map in Canada, he was always there. So we felt, okay, you know what? How is it that a big country, like Canada, with, multiculturalism being said to be at the epicenter of our national values. You see even the Canadian Charter, you see there's reference to multiculturalism. That is one of the primary, objectives, of the government, to promote multiculturalism. So we were not being seen, we didn't have a national, we didn't have a black television in Canada. So we felt, what we needed to put this thing together and let us get it done. So again, with research, we were able to find out this was something that we could do. And a lot of people that couldn't, get it started, were shocked when we went live in 2014. So these are all things when we brainstorm. I always never felt it was impossible. We went to Obel, we had meetings with Rogers, and they would ask, oh, what is different about you folks? I would say, at any of these meetings that, what, look, me, my following alone, I'm talking about people that are represented, because they ask, okay, where are the numbers? I would say, if you're talking about numbers, I can tell you that I have numbers. We have people, because we are not vocal, because we are not there, you don't see our faces. So we have Canadians, people that are represented alone, they are in their thousands. I'm talking of immigrants, people that are represented. So not to talk of people other lawyers have represented. So we were able to convince these folks, and they signed up with us. So having that mindset, you know, that you can conquer the world is key to overcoming obstacles. Not even seeing obstacles is in
Can
the
I tell
first
you?
step.
Can I tell you something? Can I tell you something?
Go ahead.
It's amazing, and you may not have realized it, but you have pulled a fast one. You pulled a fast one on yourself. I don't know when you did it, but somehow you betrayed your mind into. Your mind is disappointed because you don't even remember obstacles anymore. You don't even remember failures. I'm telling you, like, they're difficult. You've kind of superimposed positivity, achievements, your dreams, aspirations, where you're going. You've so soaked yourself in it, and you've busied yourself in it, that things that, because you actually had obstacles, you had pains, but you don't remember them anymore. They have turned into something else. You took them and you crafted them into something. And now when someone is asking you about them, you're searching your brain, but what you see are not those obstacles, because you've taken them into your poetry and you wrote about them. But now what you see is the poetry. What we read is the poem, and you don't even remember the story. You've taken dreams and pains and things that kept you awake all night, that made you quarrel with people, and you fail to see those parts, because now you turn it into something that you can look at the product. So you're all about, and it's amazing. It's really, really amazing, because I'm sitting here waiting for you to go and select those things and talk about them. But it's difficult for you, because for each one of them you want to go to, you see what you turned that situation into. So you no longer remember that situation in itself. And going through every page of your book that I look at, you know, you talk about fruition of vision, and you say a vision turned into a mission can come to fruition. When you turn the vision into a mission, then you forget about the vision. Your focus is on the mission. And when you follow up with the mission, very soon you'll be talking about the product of that vision. And you forget about the process of the vision. And you said, thorough thoughts trump trivial talks. So you focus on being thorough, on cracking those hard nuts, instead of just being trivial in your thoughts. Two more, you say a drought of thought. You say a drought of thought is fraught with rot. A drought of thought is fraught. So when you don't think, when you have a shortage of thoughts, then that means rot is about to set in. So
absolutely, Chidi.
I'm
You see,
telling you.
again, it's all about the mind. You know, when I write, you know, poetry is my favorite, because I am able to. It's like it turns me into a sculptor. You understand? You know, I design, you know, I align, and everything just rhymes. And then I use that ability, because for me, poetry is the art and craft of twisting and turning thoughts, then weaving and waxing words until you wind up with wisdom. So wisdom.
You already wrote one now. You just wrote one right now.
Yes.
You just wrote now.
Yes. You see, I already put. They are all there. They are there. What I just said is a line. You see, that's what poetry is. And poetry is intertwined with philosophy, because it's all about, you know, wisdom. It's all about conveying, you know, thoughts. You know, there are those who use. If you see, I have screen captures of my bestseller positions, you know, on Amazon. So if you see, I got to #1, and right below in one of the screen captures, you know, that I have, that of course I will frame and put you know, on my wall at some point, so my kids and kids, you know, can see. My book, the digital one, was $9.99. I put it at $9.99 because that was the highest you could go on Amazon if you wanted your digital copy, a digital copy of your book to be published and be sold, you know, on Kindle. And they publish it, they do it, so they share from the profit, of course. Now, in that screen capture, you see the complete works of Plato, the complete works. I'm talking the Sage now, Plato, was $9.99. So I was at number 1, Plato was number 2. You get my point? So not just a bestseller, but number 1 bestseller. What that does is, when you dredge knowledge, you see, one of the lines, you know, I've written, I say, knowledge has an edge. Dredge it until you are fully fledged. You see, it's edge. There's no ledge. It has edge as part of it. You see how beautiful poetry is. So you are talking knowledge, you are saying it has an edge. And it does have an edge. Literally and figuratively. You understand? So if I am able to, and I say dredge it, you know, to dredge, that means to explore. So, and do it until you are fully fledged. I say this, I say the elasticity of human intelligence is as infinite as the scope of human stupidity. It's up to you where, you know, in that spectrum, you want to belong. You can think and you see, you can go to infinity with your thoughts. And talking about barriers, I can tell you, I mentioned something about, you know, sounding Benin, sounding Nigeria. I never ever made any conscious effort to change me. That innate characteristic is something that's environmental, of course, the way I was born, the way I was reared, and all of that. So my language was me. And so it's me, rather. And you see how big I am in terms of my culture. You can see that's right there. You see, I don't miss those opportunities because they make me, because I value my background, right? So when I was in school here, studying law to practice law, because of course I had already been called to bar in Nigeria, folks would say, oh, how are you going to deal with this accent issue? I always felt like those were offensive comments, especially coming from my people. They would probably, you know, I don't know whether one would say they had, you know, goodwill, you know, they were considering, you know, the obstacles I was going to be facing, or they were trying to help me focus my mind on these so-called obstacles. You see, the reason why I guess I'm having that problem, you know, identifying obstacles, is that I've been able, as you rightly put it, you know, to look at things beyond the surface. There's no point in mourning over the so-called obstacles. Someone would say, I think that I've read it on social media, it's trended for quite a while. They say, okay, you have a problem. Does it have a solution, right? If it does, then why worry? Okay, you have a problem. Does it have a solution? No. Then why worry? In other words, all these perception, this whole thought about obstacles and what have you, of what usefulness is that to you as far as achieving your goals, you know? So I see these so-called barriers, but I don't let them interfere.
You know, you don't build a tent on them. Mr. Jesuorobo, I am so honored that you accepted to be on our show. It's almost 1 hour now. I couldn't even believe it. It was supposed to last for 30 minutes, but there's so much. We've not even scratched the surface of how deep you are and what one can mine out of you. So, but we will have another opportunity to dredge you and to extract you and to drill you and get more from you.
Thank you, Chidi. You see, I'm going to leave with one thing. You see, there's this poem which is almost a poster poem. I always recite it. I always, use this poem as, a galvanizing tool, to help folks appreciate that the inhibition that we see, may just be non-existent, and we have to conquer that.
Before you round up, can you address this situation that we find, especially in our country, Nigeria, where people are giving up and they're committing suicide because of perceived obstacles and challenges? As you round up,
it's so unfortunate. Again, it goes back to how one is able to mind his or her mind, because there's no reason for one to give up. No reason. First, I love the fact that in my culture, and that is, there are so many good things about our culture that we should be proud of. If you commit suicide, of course, I know, science attributes this to all kinds of problems, depression, child abuse, people that have suffered abuses, they've locked these things. I'm not blaming anyone, but for what it is that they go through is a serious problem. Unfortunately, the individual, has to mind the mind first and see potentials. When you see obstacles, you are going to give up. If you don't see those things, if you don't let obstacles block your vision, because you see, nothing is impossible. So the mind, if you channel your thoughts along lines of positivism, lines of it is possible, lines of, you know what, I can do this, because everyone is not the same. Everyone is not the same. You can't judge another. You can't use another's characteristics to judge yourself. For example, in my family, I am the tallest, but I'm not the brainest. You understand? So there are younger ones that are shorter, but they are smarter. You understand? So everyone, there are people that are slim, but you see the way God creates, humans, everyone is different. So it is as a result of people judging themselves by standards that are not supposed to be for them. You understand? So I think if people began to believe in themselves, they would avoid those deadly outcomes. However, I think the suffering, honestly, you talk about Nigeria, is avoidable if the government could step up. And that's why I congratulate, as you know, I supported your candidacy. And I was also happy to see Dr. Mogalu. I also supported him. You understand? Why? Because I'm talking of, giving my widow's mite. You understand? The reason why these things are important is that we have to have people, like you, come up from time to time to let everyone know. It's not that I didn't know that you were going to succeed. Nobody knew. You could have succeeded, but it's not about being sure of an outcome. It is all about knowing that you could succeed. You could. So that probability is always there. When people do these things, perhaps they've given up because the government has not stepped up. And I don't see a country where the disability bill, I understand it's been signed into law the other day. I don't know how many times it was rejected. You see people building massive structures. You see, you are an architect. Do you go to anywhere where there's no provision for disabled people, in terms of access? No. But Nigeria, okay, when do you think the government is going to begin to address issues of mental health when other visible problems, have not been dealt with? Do you understand? So people have to believe in themselves, not trusting the system and waiting for the system to deal with these issues, is something that I don't see coming in the next little while. So we have to resolve, we have to go back, mind our minds, trust in our minds, because it's a God-given ability. It's like people go to the gym all the time, right? It will build their physical body. Yeah. But you don't have to go to the gym. You don't even you don't have to pay anything when it comes to thinking. I don't know, your photo is blurry. I don't know whether we are still connected.
No, it's back now. It's back now.
Okay.
Don't worry, it will resolve.
Okay. So my point here is, when we think, when we process thoughts, we don't have to pay. We don't have to register anywhere. We just use these minds, explore our minds, and we can see potentials that are not even, in front of us ordinarily. When you think deeper, you get there. I'm also going to say the point I wanted to say before I'm going to go back to it before you ask me to talk about this suicide, this disaster, that Nigerian youths or even adults, are experiencing this problem of suicide. You see, fear is one thing that really cripples individuals. And if you see, throughout, my career, I've confronted instances where, I've had to use courage to lift myself, out of very potentially depressive situations. Because you look at this society, you go and you're fighting a case, because of your background, because of the background of your clients, there are institutional obstacles that are there. You talked earlier about this so-called irregular migration. Do you know why, the thing assumed, that kind of proportion that it did? Because the lawyers who are the best in the business, including my humble self, I don't want to brag here. At some point, I got a letter from the institution that is responsible for paying lawyers for clients, because those lawyers, this is my candid view, who are there, who cannot compete with us, obviously we're not feeling cool, they were not feeling good that we now, of our kind, were the ones who were, I guess, getting all the clients. So they attempted to use the institution to block that. Of course, we had to respond. When I got their letter and I responded and I said, listen, don't ever dare to try this. Let's look at the records. If you are telling me, if you are going out there preaching to the world that these claims are bogus, explain why. For example, you gave me a list of 10 cases, right, that you said you are looking at. And why is it that these people, they have issues that you purport, to give a sense of, something must be wrong? You have not looked at these cases carefully. First, they don't have those issues that you are seeing. Well, out of this, do you know I've already done 7, for example, out of which 6 have been successful. You have no view, to express on the real facts of this case, because you don't know. You look at the surface, you draw judgments. People who are experts in this, a tribunal set up by the government, manned by people who are not my kind, people who are experts, they've adjudged these cases and they've decided. Don't you see there's something fundamentally wrong with your perception? You understand what I'm saying? So we encounter all kinds of things, but then you have to be strong. You have to respond. Others will just say, oh my goodness, I'm finished. I'm going to let this thing, I'm going to tell folks, they wanted to interview me, but I refused. I said, I'm not going to validate. I'm talking about it because I know you mean well. TV stations, radio stations, we want to talk about irregular migration. I could talk in fora. For example, I told you about the meetings with the High Commissioner. I met with the Minister of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizens. I told him my mind. You understand? So we did a lot of work. I wouldn't go to the press to be talking about those things because all they wanted was to give the wrong label, you know, to my people. So I wouldn't go to validate that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we can go on and on. We can go on and on, Chibi. But I want to end with that poem.
Exactly.
That I said, which is on fear. You see, I tell folks, fear, you know, is one great problem that inhibits folks. So it is one of those things that I have dissected, is in my book, but I'll render it. Fear is the title. Oh, fear, a coat of many colors you wear. You always look in the rear. In front are the barren children you bear. You block the road to success like a dike. Mongers hype your profile to make it spike. Terrains shake when you strike, as if you are thunder and the like. You always manage to find a way. The brave chases you away. The pretender buys you only away. The coward lets you hold sway. Thunder, dawns, waves, rave. But their screams can't nip the trip of the brave. We all ply paths only the brave could pave. Hail to whoever succumbs to fear only in the grave. So, that's it.
Thank you so much. You know how the problem is when me and you start talking, we spend 4 hours. So, this time is very little for us, but thank you so much once more, guys.
Welcome.
This has been Kingsley Jesuorobo, a man of so many parts, and he is truly an inspiration to me, to my wife, to our community here. He has done so much. We have a program where we do Ask Me Anything about Canada, and a lot of you who have asked us questions and we've answered you. We're not lawyers. The reason we're able to give you those questions is because we have people like Mr. Kingsley Jesuorobo who are always willing to help. Most of you have called him and he has just given you those initial advice. But please, I want to beg that when you call, you should realize that it's a company that is set up and it is run with cash. So be willing to pay them. You guys just call and you want free service. Please don't do that to him so that he'll continue to help us. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go right now. We will call you back. Whenever we call you, sir, please always answer us. So you can switch off now. Thank you.
You can bet, TD. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. So guys, that was Kingsley Jesuorobo. I told you people that this was going to be a very wonderful interview, and you will agree with me that it was very explosive. It got technical some places, but that is who Kingsley Jesuorobo is. Very versatile. So let's focus on our mission. Let's focus on our vision. Let us be courageous. Let us hold on to faith. Let's believe in ourselves. Don't focus on the obstacles. Everybody has them. Don't focus on the limitations. Everybody has them. So if you focus on where you're going, if you're not scared, if you're not afraid, if you take risks, one day you look back and you'll be glad that you did. When I was talking about the Minister of Immigration, I remember all the issues that we have. Some of us still had those things. I remember Suya Sport, my man, the owner of Suya Sport. We're going to bring him on the program sometime to talk about he's somebody that has also gone through some obstacles and limitations, but he made it. Those are the kind of people that I'm going to bring up to us later. And then you guys keep your fingers crossed. We're going to be bringing Omoyele Shore on this program very soon. Each and everybody's asking, when are you bringing him on? Omoyele Sowore is going to be with us. Just keep tuned to our station and we'll let you know when it's coming. So finally, from all of us here in the Toronto studio of Worship Media, on behalf of Erica, this is Chidi thanking you for being with us and telling you to please keep on keeping on. We love you. God bless you, and bye-bye.